Hi everybody. Thank you very much for joining us on another program. This is the third episode of our season because this time we're talking about the music, the songs, the arias that we really like. It's a kind of a strange day today here in Mexico because we happen to have had today an earthquake, a strong one around. I have read reports of 6.8, some others of 7.3. At this point, I'm not really
7.7.
sure. So around 7. So at the end, it's a lot. It was real hard for people who felt the earth moving. Truth is, I really didn't feel it. Even though I am very close to Mexico City, I swear God, I didn't feel anything. And maybe it is time to let you know. You may have noticed, for people who are watching us on YouTube, already noticed that there is my camera and there is Katya's camera. And the reason for that is because we are in different cities. We are around 250 kilometers away, so that's why we are always in remote locations. And Katya was telling me that she actually felt it in the state where she lives, that is called Puebla. Fortunately, she's also doing well. I hope nothing else happens in Puebla, but maybe you can share a little. You were telling me that it felt kind of strong there, but everything is fine. No harm on buildings, people, right?
Yeah, thanks God. Well, there were some practices exactly because curiously, it's the third time that we experiment an earthquake in the same date. We first lived, well, I wasn't born yet, but in 1985, Mexico lived the first earthquake in September 19th, and it was, we are talking about a devastation. This second earthquake 5 years ago was not that strong as the first one, but it was still a very hard one. Today, I think, and I want to think that in certain way we are more prepared to face a situation like this. You know that there is no way to know when will this happen, but I heard some jokes in the morning saying, "Let's be ready because it's September 19th and it's gonna a shake," and it happened. So it's curious, but thanks God, people was just practicing when it ends, and it started to earthquake. So I think that the most of people was outside, not indoor, and that helped.
Yeah, as you just mentioned, this is the third time that we have an earthquake in Mexico on the same day, different years, but it's just beyond comprehension. But well, we have to deal with it. So fortunately, no major harms to people and structures in Mexico. Of course, a couple of things here and there, but for the most part, people in Mexico are doing well. So if you have watched the news, and you're wondering how is it that we are doing fine. Thank you very much. If you had a thought for us, and also our deep appreciation to people who continue watching us on YouTube and listening to us in the podcasts. And before we start with the content of today's program, we would like to share with you again the very good news that soon in the weeks to come, we will be confirming the contact information and further details on the opportunity to take in singing lessons with Katya. Katya, please share with us that very good news with people.
Sure, thanks. Yes, I'm working in my Facebook page. I will be loading some videos with some classes because I would like to share with all of you, with all the audience, uh, some some of my work as a singer teacher. Um, I think that is important. I know that obviously all of you have listened to me singing, but I would like you to know the way I teach. I would like I would like you to know the way I work with my students. So I'm working on this, and I think that probably for the next program, this information of my pages of my social networks will be ready for sharing with all of you. So you can contact and ask about.
And it is very important if you have followed us already for a number of programs, you may remember that we mentioned that uh, a good singer is no guarantee of being a good teacher because you need a person who is good at teaching singing. So it is extraordinary news not only that Katya will be teaching those online, but also that she will be sharing some of those materials so that you can understand her approach to teaching singing. Personally, I am also very curious. I am very curious about a thousand things, and given that I have known Katya for a good number of years, I am also wondering
Probably
how.
you should take a singing class with me.
And
Just
just
kidding.
imagine how that would go.
I don't know. I'm afraid.
That would be funny as well, right? Okay, so but there is also something in the coming weeks, not only for the good news, but also on the on what we have been working for the following season. But those news we will be sharing later. And let's move on with the content of today's program. And for that purpose, I will be leaving in the background. We are not opening today's with a song or with an aria itself, or at least personally, I will be sharing with you some of the moments of one of my favorite operas, maybe the opera by Giuseppe Verdi that I like the most. And I like it the most for a good number of reasons. A good number of reasons. Of course, we are talking about La Forza del Destino. Well, at least for me, it is of course. And let me share with you a couple of reasons of why is it one of my favorites. I will be in silence for a couple of for a number of occasions because the music, the overture is playing in the background in a piano version that you could find in YouTube with user ahang1001 ahang 1001. You can find that channel in YouTube. He uploaded his piano version of this overture of La Forza del Destino. La Forza del Destino is probably one of the darkest operas by Giuseppe Verdi. Almost all dialogues are full of hate, if you allow me to use that expression. Most of the words that the baritone Don Carlo uses here are full of that hate. In fact, that color of his voice is always wishing death to his sister, to Alvaro, the lover of his sister. I will be telling you a little more about the overall situation and the plot of the opera, but the role of Carlo, a very classical Verdian baritone with a strong, powerful voice, bright, high notes, um is something very special, not only because this type of baritone, but also because it takes a tenor that has very interesting characteristics, as opposed to, let's say, Il Duque de Mantua. Il Duca is a very plain character. It opens with Questa Quella, wraps up with La Donna Mobile, but it is a very plain character for me. However, Don Alvaro, here in La Forza del Destino, is a character that suffers a lot. Is a man who is carried by rage, that rage governs his life, that the suffering of him being of the royalty in his country, as he calls himself, the last of the Incas. Of course, we know, if you know history, you know that it is impossible that he was part of the Incas living in Spain. Of course, that's impossible. But for the purpose of the plot, that suffering of having not being part of the royalty of his own land, and now being no one in the lands of Spain, and having wished more than anything to be in with his beloved Leonora, but the destiny deciding that they would be apart is something that one really feels in the voice of the tenor. As for the case of the soprano, even though of course she's a main character there, the parts she sings are not very long except for the Pache Pache Mio Dio, which we will hear at the end of today's. But also the character of Leonora is very suffers from the very beginning, in the fact, as I was reading the score, I noticed that the only part when Leonora actually says that she is happy is when she is actually dying at the end of the fourth act. So, with all that in mind, I was telling you this whole Forza del Destino is very somber, very dark, very cruel, so full of hate. So one lives after watching the whole opera. One feels like something not very nice just happened, but the music is astonishingly, Verdi, with that strength, with that power in the notes. One also has to pay very lots of attention, and I wanted to call your attention to that, because the opening duet between the soprano and the tenor, even though it is supposed to be the encounter of two lovers telling that they are going to live, they are going to be together, it's not like Aidas. You remember the duet between Radames and Aida, the Por ti ribego. You recall, Por ti ribego, mia dolce Aida. Even though it is also two strong voices singing together in La Forza del Destino, in this case, the melody is not attractive. One really doesn't feel like it is a nice, very beautiful love, but that this relationship between the two of them, it's like there was over them, the shadow of sadness and tragedy, the shadow of destiny that has decided that the two of them will never be together. One starts the opera like that with the overture and then stops the opera feeling that the destiny actually is the one that rules. And that's the message that Verdi wanted to pass to us. And I have thought for a good number of times that Verdi himself felt that he had been the victim of destiny. If you recall, his first wife, and his children died, and when he was still in his early stages of being a composer, and that he was marked for the rest of his career with that sadness for the relationship between husbands and sons and daughters. And that's what I think the La Forza del Destino is about. Most of the lines, even though they are sung, they are actually more like parlato or declamato, because when you read the score, you notice that almost all phrases and syllables are sung in the same note. And at the most, there is a different. They are separated by a third, which means between do and mi, or you take re and then you go for fa, and something like that. But most of the syllables and the phrases are the same height, which means that they are not actually singing, they are actually like talking. So it is in the creativity of the singers to make it sound like singing when it is actually not. And I think that's very much what I wanted to share with you as an introduction. I know that it is a weird way of opening today's program, because we always open with someone singing, but I really felt like I
With me
needed.
singing.
Katia will be singing now, of course. Remember that after a dark, cruel somber participation of mine. Usually comes Katya singing something nice, and that's what it's going to happen now. So, Katya, if you would like to share with us what is it that you are going to be singing now?
Okay, today I will be singing, as I told you a few minutes ago, Lieder, in the sense that these are German songs. So, some of them are, well, it will take me probably not just one program, because there are lots of beautiful music here. I will start with Stenhan, that is probably one of the most known leader. But I think that even when it's a little bit known than the rest of my music for today, uh, it's absolutely beautiful.
Absolutely, yeah, Stenhen.
Okay, so let's go ahead. Leise flehen meine Lieder durch die Nacht zu dir. In den stillen Hain hernieder, Liebchen, komm zu mir. Frisch der Schlangen verrauschen in des Mondes Licht, in des Mondes Licht. Des Verratens heilig lauschen, würde holde nicht, würde holde nicht. Hört die Nachtigallen schlagen, ach, sie fliehen dich. Mit der Töne süßen Klagen flieht sie für mich. Sie verstehen des Busen Sinnen, keine Liebesschmerz, keine Liebesschmerz. Rühre beten Silbertänen, jedes weiche Kiss, jedes weiche Kiss. Lass auch den der Brust bewegen, Liebchen, höre mich, eben kann ich dir entgegen. Komm, beglücke mich, komm, beglücke mich, beglücke mich.
And I was about to say that we have mentioned in the past that each country has its own way, or not only countries, but group of people, say, have their own way of expressing their emotions. And as you were singing, I was thinking of that, and so I wanted to tell you, even though you can share for people who don't speak German, the translation of the words, I wanted to ask you about the emotion that you think this song uh, conveys.
I think that the one of the most attractive issues about from Lydia for me it is that it's a very intimate music. It is written musically for a very small place. In Mexico, we know this context as tertulias. It is a kind of, help me please, velada.
I don't know. Like, well, group of, I'm not sure if there is an expression like that, but group of people who spend part of the night singing, maybe sharing poems, sharing anecdotes, like that.
Yeah, so it is very intimate because if you are opening the door, your house's doors, it is because you're inviting friends. So even if it's a big house, we're not talking about a theater, So there are a certain number of people, but it's not a huge number of people. You sing for them uh, in a very close distance. So this music is written like this, even when you find in your score an indication as forte, it's not the same forte that you will sing in La Forza del Destino, for example. So I think that I like this feeling of privacy, this feeling that I'm telling a story for people that I know. Probably it's not my story in the sense that I'm making this poem because usually there are uh, poems that are musicalized. But I feel this music as part of me because I have to sing it very near from me. Uh, this this song, especially, it's also known as Serenade. When you go and sing to your beloved one, and you sing words plenty of love to conquer or to reconquer this person. So in this serenade by Schubert, we find that he is telling her that in the quiet night, in the silence, his heart is calling her. The moon is sparkling, and he presents a very romantic landscape and is begging for his beloved one to to come at this encuentro.
Encounter.
Yeah, to this encounter.
And these beautiful words that Katia just shared with us are really much in need for a program like today's, because all mine, as I would like to insist, will be all horrible things.
Death and destruction.
Yeah, pain and destruction. So it is very good that Katia brought this material today, because I wanted to share with you very quickly that uh, the first duet and everything starts going horribly wrong, both for Leonora and Alvaro, because they are planning on living together, but Leonora's father enters the room, and in an unbelievable series of events, he's shot accidentally by the gun he was carrying himself, and it is blamed on Leonora and Alvaro that they shot Leonora's father, and so then both have to run away. That's how it actually opens, with no time to say goodbye, to do anything. They just run because they will be chased. And Leonora goes to a, I'm not sure now if it is convent in English. It is convent in English?
Yeah, I think so.
If not, I will find the word in Italian or in another language, because he goes to la chiesa and he asks the. Uh, I have another problem with the word, because she asks the padre mayor. I'm not
The
even sure.
priest?
Yeah, the higher priest, to be accepted there. So she has a dialogue. He finds out that she's actually Leonora, the one who it is believed uh, killed her own father, which actually didn't happen, but that's what they believe. So the father says that they will accept it, but when she arrives to the church, remember that all the voices, the Don Carlo, the brother of Leonora, full of hate all time, Leonora, full of despair all of time, and Alvaro, full of hate, anger, and despair. So when he arrives to the church, this part that is not actually an aria, but when he arrives with this music in the background, with the same melody of the Overtura, when she arrives, he says, Son giunta, grazie o Dio, estremo sil questo per me, son giunta, io tremo, la mia orrenda storia è nota in quell'albergo e mio fratel Narola se scoperta m'avesse. And that's what I was telling you. She's not really singing because she's sharing with us now this part of her story. And that's what she says when she arrives to the doors of the church. Later, when she's accepted by the higher priest, the father, she joins the
Priest?
male. Sorry, she joins the male chorus, and with the male chorus, they sing a very short part, a religious part that is called Madre Pietosa Vergine, where she unites her voice to the male chorus, but it's very brief, and it is then again, even though this being accepted to join that group of priests, she's not happy again, and that part goes. I will also share with you a very short part of that. It goes like, Madre pietosa Vergine, perdona il mio peccato, maita quell'ingrato del core a cancellar. In questi solitudini espierò l'errore, pietà di me, pietà Signor, pietà di me, pietà Signor, de non m'abbandonar, pietà, pietà di me, pietà Signor, de non m'abbandonar, pietà, pietà di me, pietà Signor. So she's asking the God she believes in for some help in the horrible situation that she finds herself. And let's jump very quickly to now the first aria of actually the tenor, that is called. Remember that we like to call the arias with the initial text, so we called it La Vita, Inferno all'Infelice. And I find it very interesting because even though it is somehow sung, in the sense that there is a melody there, the opening words, because this is the first time that we see Alvaro on stage alone, the sad words that he starts with say, La vita inferno all'infelice, invano morte desio. That's how it starts, and we will hear part of it in with the accompaniment of a piano, and I will be sharing not a complete aria because it's very long, but a part of it. But because mostly I would like to share with you what it is the mood or the state of the soul of Mr. Alvaro. La vita inferno all'infelice
infano mortis io. Similia, Leonora, o rimembranza, o notte coniven mi rapisti. Sarò infelice eternamente, è scritto. Dalla natale sua terra imparevole spezza l'estraneo gioco e con unirsi a l'ultima incas la corona cingere mi confidò. Fu vana impressa in un carcere nacqui, melucava in deserto, sol vivo perché ignota e mia regale stirpe. I miei parenti sognarono un trono e li destò la scure. Oh, quando fine avran le mie sventure. O tu che insano agli angeli, eternamente pura, salisti vana incolume. Dalla mortal giatura, o tu che in seno agli angeli salisti bella e pura, non discordare di volger lo sguardo a me tampino, che senza nome da sole in odio del destin, che senza nome da sole in odio del destino, quiero nell'anima misero, chiedo anelando ai misero la morte d'incontrar. Leonora mia, soccorso
And I know that I said I wouldn't sing it complete, but I wanted to share a little with you on how the mood of Alvaro is. And if you noticed, it's painful. There is no joy anywhere. He's suffering all along with that. The interesting part here, I was telling you, is that we have a tenor voice, a very characteristic Verdian voice, very strong in the center, with bright notes, but also with interesting petto notes. So it is from my perspective, I was telling you, it is a very interesting character for a Verdian tenor. But too much darkness. Let's go back to the light, and Katia will be sharing us something nicer to forget about Don Alvaro for a few minutes. What is it that you're sharing now?
Let's forget that there's a hell for those who are not joyful people.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, in this moment, I have a Mendelssohn song. Its name is by the Wiege. It's a kind of lullaby, by the. Oh my God, what's happening with our English today? By the
Let's say that
cradle,
it is on
by
the
the cradle.
earthquake. Let's say it's on
I
the
got it.
earthquake.
I know. Probably it was the earthquake. Okay. Um, it is a kind of a lullaby. It's a very soft and sweet song. I worked this in the university, and I love this song. So I will share this with all of you. And probably you know this one, but I know that is not one of the most famous songs. So I think I hope this is a nice discover for many of you. Schlumre, Schlumre und träume von kommender Zeit, die sich die bald muss entfallen. Träume, mein Kind, von Freud und Leid. Träume vom Leben gestalten. Träume vom Leben gestalten. Bleibe noch ein geduldig. Bleibe noch ein geduldig. Bleibe noch ein geduldig. Schlummre und träume von Frühlingsgewalt. Schau all das Blühen und Werden. Or wie kein der Vogelsang schar. Liebe im Himmel auf Erden. Schlumre.
The thing about this beautiful, it is a discovery for me, I have to confess. And I was just about to start thinking also about the emotions in this beautiful piece. And suddenly it ended. One used to having these high notes at the end so that we understand that the singer just finished singing. So most of the times, these songs, when we don't know them, they take us by surprise. And also, I wanted to ask you again about Mendelssohn music is difficult music in the sense that let's say, he's technically challenging in the sense of his composition. And how do you feel about singing Mendelssohn when compared to Schubert, for instance?
Well, I think that the main challenge here, for me at least, is to sing in this range of voice that is not my most comfortable zone. You know, if you ask me honestly, do you prefer to sing this piece of music or you prefer to sing the bell aria from Lacme? I will choose Lacme because for me it is easier. This is not written exclusively or mainly thinking about soprano coloratura because it's lacking of virtuosity, high notes, or pyrotechnics. Uh, for me, these are very deep notes, and that's the main challenge. And also to sing these notes that are not the most comfortable for me with these dynamics, when you are singing, probably that is not that comfortable for you. You could be tempted to to push your voice and to sing strongly to to make it, if I sing a strong, probably I will sing it better. But this is not a choice in music like this, because you are carrying your baby in your arms, so you can yell to the baby. So it's completely another idea. In Stenhen, you are thinking about your beloved one, and it's not here. So you can think about a larger direction. You are singing far away. Leise fliehen, my Lieder. And you can think that your voice has to travel a distance. But if you're singing by the cradle, uh, Slumre und träume vorkommende outside, you're just singing around this, and that is challenge because you have to use your air very wisely.
And maybe for some people, this thing that Katia is sharing with us may feel like, well, if you're singing an F, what's the problem with singing an F? Well, it depends on the style of the composer that F is going to be sung. So, but if you go for taking those singing lessons with Katia, you will understand more as you will be rehearsing those very often.
Let's imagine that we are using proportions of air and voice. If you are singing Stenhand, for example, you might be using 70% voice, 13 air. But if you are singing by De Avige, you should be using around 90% air, 10% voice, because you're just whispering. Slumre und träume vorkommende outside. And you have to have a very good air to sing this way.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
that's the
But we have to close this episode of Beautiful and Brightness, and we have to go back to the hatred and darkness of La Forza del Destino, which I have forgotten. We are reaching almost the final part of the program, and I have forgotten to share with you this very beautiful image that I found in the internet as the first post, not postcard, but I'm not again with Aircook today. I'm forgetting lots of words in English, but this is the first, the publication.
flyer.
What?
Flyer? Well, it's not a flyer.
Well, that word you see it. Well, that's what is put on the streets to announce something. So this very beautiful
Just
thing,
look at
and
this.
we are going to share with you. I'm going to be sharing with you a little part because the scene again is very long of Don Carlo, which we were saying it's the brother of Leonora, and I will be sharing with you parts of the scene because I would like you to pay attention to the tone of the voice and what is the state of mind for this Mr. Don Carlos. So I will step away because, again, I'm afraid La Forza del Destino is around 150% voice and another 150% air.
Totally.
That's usually what it takes. So this scene is usually, well, it's called Urna Fatale, and it is because it starts by telling he has been left alone. Well, I have to share with you that Alvaro saved the life of Carlo, but after having saved his enemy's life, now it's the time that they two join in a battle, but now Alvaro has been hurt. So he's taken away for to be taken care by doctors. But Alvaro lives again. I don't have the word a cofre.
I
Well,
don't
that
know
box,
what's
that
going.
wooden metal box where he keeps his belongings, for Carlo to take care of that while he's taken away to be cured. So Carlo is left alone and he starts his scene by saying Urna Fatale because at some point he thinks that Alvaro could be the guy who killed his father. And remember that he's been chasing Leonora and Alvaro for years because he wants them both to be killed as well. So the scene starts with it starts with a word like this. It says,
Morir, tremenda cosa, si intrepido, si prole, e pur morrà, uom singolar costoi. Tremoli calatrava il nome, a noi panesse, né forse il disonor. Cielo, qual lampo, sei fosse il seduttore, desso in mia mano e vive. Se m'ingannassi, questa chiave il dica.
so this short introduction tells about him wondering whether this guy who has been hurt could actually be his enemy. And so now he's tempted to opening this box, this wooden and metal box, to find out whether he's actually that lover of Leonora and then must die. And then he says,
E quei folli che tento e la fe che giurai e questa vita che devo al suo valor anch'io la salvo se fosse quell'inno maledetto che macchiò il sangue mio il suggello si franga niunque mi vede no ben mi vecchio.
now what is going on in his mind is whether he must open that secret box or not. And that's how
The
the
cover.
actual Urna Fatale starts. I'm going to sing just a short part of it.
Orna fatale del mio destino, vata lontana, mi tenti invano, l'onor a tercer, qui ven insano, dono
this brief part or this initial part of the Urna Fatale is where he has the doubts of whether he should be opening it or not. But his doubts dissipate when one of the soldiers goes back and says that the life of Alvaro has been saved. And then there is this sort of cabaletta full of hate again, where he's enjoying he's telling us that he is very happy that because now that he has discovered that yes, it is Alvaro, the lover of Leonora, he's very happy that he's saved his life because now he can kill him himself.
C'è Leonora, con Alvaro inferito, ora egli viva ed è mia amar, poi muoia, lieta novella e salvo, oh gioia, ogni salvo gioia immensa che mi non il cor ti sento, potro al fine il tradimento sola infamia vendicar. Leonora, ove t'ascondi, disseguisti fra le scuole, chi del sangue il tuo padre, chi del sangue il tuo padre, ti fe il volto rosseggiar. Ah, Felicia, pensarei, se potessi il brando mio, amen, noi d'aver Dio, non sol colpo consacrar, e ne salvo gioia immensa, che mi non nel cor ti sento, Leonora, me t'ascondi, oh me t'ascondi, disseguisti tra le squadre, chi del sangue di tuo padre, ti fe il volto rosseggiar. Amen due, al mio dover novo consacrar, amen due, al mio dover novo consacrar, amen due, consacrar, consacrar.
And so, with that very horrible way of celebrating that Alvaro is alive and that he will have the opportunity of killing him with his own hands and killing Leonora as well, that's how this celebration of revenge of Don Carlo ends. Okay, too much darkness again. Let's go back to the bright side, the beautiful things that Katia sings.
Okay. This is my my last song for today, and it is a poem by Heinrich Heine. Its name is The Lotus Blume, and it's a poem about what's going on?
Earthquake.
This
Remember,
lotus
today's the
flower, this
earthquake.
lotus flower. Oh, I got it, I got it. This lotus flower, because I have this name in German and in Italian, il fiore di loto, but it was not in English. Okay, it is a very romantic, but not in the sense that usually we think about romanticism. It is about this flower in the forest, shy, waiting for the moonlight. So it is a very beautiful landscape. You have to know that I love forests, and I think that is a very German song because they have beautiful places and landscapes. So I think that people, if there's people in there listening this program, will surely know how does it looks.
I'm trying to picture that in my mind. Sorry for the interruption. No more interruptions. Okay.
I will try it too. Lotus Blume sticht sich vor der Sonne bracht und mit gesenktem Haupte erwartet träumend die Nacht. Der Mann, der ist ja Bulle, er fängt sie mit seinem Licht und ihm entschleiert sie fröhlich. Grabes Blumengesicht. Sie blüht und blüht und leuchtet und starret stumm in die Höhe. Sie dichtet auf eine Landschaft, Liebe und Liebesschwee. For Liebe und Liebesschwee.
And I was trying to picture in my mind a beautiful scene. I don't know what happens or what goes in your mind when you think about these beautiful, fine songs. What I usually think about is, like lonely places full of grass, trees, birds, flowers. That's usually what comes to my mind, and that's what I was actually thinking while you were singing.
Yes, I usually think about this place you just described. I can feel the fresh breeze. I can think about the silver moonlight. Uh, it is a very very fine song, a very fine music. Uh, like I said a few minutes ago, there's a forte, but you can sing a forte as you just did in La Forza. This place where you sing. You just have to think only about more distance in your voice, more distance in your sound, in your air, but you can gel at all. So it is a very exquisite work. It's not because I'm singing it. I'm singing. I'm talking about the score. It is a very exquisite work.
It certainly is, and that's why it makes me feel a little guilty to sing the darkness of La Forza. I believe today's contrast has been as when we had our program for Bel Canto and Verismo. Remember, you have Lucia, and then there was Canio shouting. We had two very opposite words, and without intention today, we somehow repeat it because you have brought very beautiful songs, very exquisite, fine songs. And I have brought almost the most horrible roles that Verdi ever wrote. So horrible in the sense
That
of
is
emotions, I mean, because at the end one feels like one would like to empathize with either of the three. I mean, both Alvaro and Leonora, it was accidentally that the father was shot. They just wanted to
yeah.
get away to live their lives. And of course, Don Carlo didn't want his father to be killed like that. So that's what we're. And I was, since there are two duets, In fact, there are three in La Forza, which is what I like a lot. There are three duets between Don Alvaro and Don Carlo. And at this moment, if you know La Forza, you would say, no, there are only two. One of the versions of the complete opera, the version of St. Petersburg, remember that this was the first representation of it was in the Bolshoi Theater in St. Petersburg. So that version has the three duets. And I had to go for the final duet. Only, of course, there are not two voices here. I will be describing what each of them is singing because it's very interesting how now that Don Alvaro himself also is in another convent. He also retired to be away from people. Remember that he's full of rage. That at the minor provocation, he just fires up and wants to kill everybody. So in this scene, what happens is that Don Carlo has found him. And in fact, the duet opens by saying, In vano Alvaro ti celasti al mondo. So it means, Alvaro, it was in vain that you've hidden yourself from the world, because I finally found you. And I found you because I want to kill you. And in this duet, at some point, he throws a sword to the floor and asks Alvaro to go into a duel with him. And Alvaro, now being a priest, he says, No, assisti mi, signori. But then the melody of the opening of the overture that we heard goes back and reminds us that they are in the hands of La Forza del Destino, the name of the opera. So he's about to kill another of the Vargas. Well, the last name of Leonora and Don Carlo were Vargas. They were Leonora Vargas and Don Carlo Vargas. So somehow the father, Mr. Vargas, was killed, and now it is Alvaro who will kill another Vargas, the brother of Leonora. Don Carlo, by looking for Alvaro to kill him, it ends the opposite way. Alvaro now kills Don Carlo. And at the end of the opera, which we will not sing that part because we've already passed the hour, so I need to really rush up. At the end, while Carlo is dying, you know that opera resolves things sometimes easily. So Leonora was in the same happens to be in the same place as Don Alvaro and Don Carlo. So when Leonora runs to see her brother dying, with the last strength Carlo had, he killed Leonora as well. So the three Vargas end up dying in the same opera. And that's part of what I am going to be sharing again. Let me read the words. In vano Alvaro ti celasti al mondo, ed ipocrita veste scudo facesti alla viltà. Del chiostro ve t'ascondi mi adito alla via e l'odio, alla sete di vendetta, alcuno qui non sarà che ne divida. Il sangue, solo il tuo sangue, può lavar l'oltraggio che macchiò l'onor mio, e tutto il verserò, lo giuro a Dio. So Don Alvaro enters the stage and says, Fratello, and Carlo shouts, riconoscimi! Don Carlo, voi vivente, dal nostro nevo in traccia, ti trovo finalmente, col sangue sol cancella sì l'infamia e il delitto, ch'io ti punisca è scritto sul libro del destin. having been shown the two swords, Don Alvaro does not want to accept the duel, and so he answers,
Vissi nel mondo intendo, or questi vesti leremo, dicon che falli al mendo, che penitente il cor, lasciatemi, lasciatemi.
So Carlo answers,
difendere quel sogno nel deserto, codardo, te non posso no.
and Alvaro replies,
Codardo, tagli asserto, no, no, assistimi, Signore. Le minacce i fieri accenti porti in seco e in preda ai venti, perdonatemi pietà, o fratel, pietà, pietà, a che offendere cotanto, chi fu solo sventolato, di chi diavla fronte al fatto, o fratel, pietà, pietà, o fratel, pietà, pietà, o fratel, pietà, pietà.
and in return, Don Carlo replies with his line,
A una sola mi lasciasti, che tradita abbandonasti, che tradita abbandonasti, all'infamia, al dishonor. No, non fo dissonnolata, ve lo giura un sacerdote, sulla terra l'ho adorata, come in cielo amar si puote, l'amo ancor, e se l'amma, Dio non brama questo cor. Non si placa il mio furore, per menacce vili accento, l'arme impone dal cimento, e dal cimento scendi, meco traditor. Non si placa il mio furore, per menacce vili accento, l'arme impone dal cimento, e dal cimento scendi, me quel traditor, traditor.
as we're reaching the end of the duet, Don Alvaro replies,
Se il rimorso, il pianto mai non vi parlano per me, qual nessun mi vide mai, io mi prostro al vostro piede. Alla macchia del tuo stemma provasti conquestato, adesso prende più che gema, sangue il uscite, un brando, un brando, uscite. And very happy, Don Carlo interrupts that, uscite with finalmente. Don Alvaro again, no, no, l'inferno non trionfi, va, riparti. Tu fai dunque di me scherno, sola me qua misurarti, o vigliacco non accore, ti consacro all'issonore. And that final part ends with, I cannot do it in both voices because it goes very fast. Because it goes, segnaste la tua sorte. Then the baritone says, morte. The tenor, morte. Mentre mia morte, segnaste la tua sorte. Morte, morte, entra mia morte, morte. Morte, morte, vieni, morte. Vieni, morte, a morte andiamo. A morte andiamo, a morte andiamo. And the both voices join with that shout of saying morte, morte, morte andiam. As I was telling you, the end of this duel is the death of Don Carlo. Seeking revenge, finds death himself. My apologies for having brought these very dark these very dark episodes of La Forza del Destino for today's program. But it happens to be one of the operas that I like the most. As you may have already noticed, it takes a very good tenor and a splendid baritone and an exquisite, powerful, at least as Pinto soprano to sing Leonora. With that being said, thanks everybody for having joined us on this Earthquakes Day in Mexico program, and we'll be seeing you next time. Thank you. Bye.